Welcome to the Today's Leader podcast. Building tomorrow's best leaders, today.
Way to go, guys. Way to go. Keep it going. Good job, guys. All right, Paul, I see you. All right, finish. Let's go.
Great job, guys.
Hey there, it's Coach Cole here, and welcome to episode 397 of the Today's Leader podcast, leading a revolution to build tomorrow's best leaders today. We provide proven expert advice and tips for leaders at all levels who are striving to get to the next level, whether it's a career leap or whether it's business growth that you're after. If you are an emerging and ambitious leader, please check out the Emerging Leaders Masterclass at tomorrowsbestleaders.com. Leverage your potential and prepare yourself today for your next role. Check it out today. Now, today's guest is certainly a bundle of energy and one that you will take real gold insights away, specifically to live a life that's in control. Dr. Reza Abraham is a Persian author, speaker, and ultra-high performance coach, and the founder of the InControl Group. His first book is a result of 20 years of studying and working with different individuals. He's been invited to speak on personal growth and leadership by many global and Fortune 500 companies. He's a graduate of the University of Science and Technology in Iran, the Multimedia University in Malaysia, and MIT in the United States. He's certainly a learned doctor. Dr. Reza lives in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia, and today he shares some tips, some advice, and what many may consider some very simple life hacks to help you live and lead a life that's in control. So after a word from our sponsor, please welcome Dr. Reza Abraham to the podcast.
The podcast is brought to you by Think and Grow Business, the home of the Think and Grow Business Mastermind. If you're serious about growing your business, get serious and join a mastermind group today. Find out more at thinkandgrowbusiness.com.au.
And it's my pleasure to welcome to the Today's Leader podcast, Building Tomorrow's Best Leaders Today. Please welcome Dr. Reza Abraham. How are you, Reza?
I'm good, Tony. Thank you so much for having me. It's really a pleasure.
Absolutely. I just enjoy doing this so much, getting to meet people right around the world. Which part of the world are you from?
Currently, we are basically staying in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia.
Okay, cool.
Yes, not that far.
So you're officially, I think, our first ever guest from that particular part of the world. So congratulations.
Oh, that's an honor.
So share with our audience the Dr. Reza Abraham story.
Well, I have started my own journey of what we call that's the personal development and professional development as a management consultant. So being involved in management consultancy and leadership role for very, very long time. And this whole story basically because my background was on engineering. I was an industrial engineer. And later on, I pursued my master and PhD in the area of like people and change. Okay. So that has been, I was always very excited about what does it take basically to bring the people to the optimized level of their performance. But what was very interesting in my journey is that I always enjoy seeing the contrast between two person at the same situation. One works, what doesn't work, right? So this kind of work, I think I'm very, very sure you're very familiar with the jobs of like, Jim Collins, Good to Great, that he always liked to also look at the contrast between two things. So my job in the management consultancy and coaching business was coming from the very similar background because I was always working with like organizations all around the world, from like what we call that, like companies like PwC, KPMG, take it to like, McDonald, Nielsen, all the big companies. And I'm always looking at like, some of the best practices between these leaders that they're working in the same organizations at the same time. One of them, everybody loves to be in their department. And there are some people that absolutely people just suffer, meaning that there are some leaders that they really take the respect from people. And there are some people that people just there because they want to get paid. Yeah. So this brings the whole journey of understanding exactly what does it take to be that kind of leader.
Okay.
And this brought me to this whole idea of in control, So my journey of development, I started this basically writing a book around 3 years ago, which we started to do a massive research, discussing with a lot of like top leaders from all around the world. And we gather it inside a model, we call it as in control, a systematic approach on how to take complete control of your life and career. So both of them. We are not only talking about life, we are also talking about the career. And if I want to put it in a very simple definition, what is basically an in control life and career is the place where you love what you do, you love who you do it with. It means your colleagues, your team members, your family. You love who you do it for. It means your customers, the organizations or the community, or even in a bigger space, like look at the country by itself or the world, basically, right? And at the end, love how you do it. It means love when you do it, how long you do it, and, the every aspect related to that job that we are performing and, living our life with.
Excellent. So the book's called In Control, Taking Complete Control of Your Life and Career. And it sounds like it's very much about people finding their sweet spot. Have I picked up the right vibe there?
Yep. That's correct. That's correct.
It was interesting. I was speaking with another guest on the Today's Leader podcast, and he was talking about for a lot of leaders, there's a love it zone and there's a lose it zone. And the love it zone is the stuff that is going to build strength and grow our business and build within ourselves as well as our business. And the lose it zone or the leave it zone is the stuff that you need to give to other people who are more adept and at that. So I found that really quite interesting. So what was the compelling reason why you dived into this style of research?
Correct. So what happened is that, you see, my journey, Tony, was, if you ever speak with like you're an author and you know exactly what drives most of the authors to become like, even world famous. Yeah. Unfortunately, we live in a world where society mostly appreciates more negativity and sad news and stories that, full of like divorce, I went through addiction, there was a death happened, there was like a major trauma in my life. And then suddenly I just wake up one day and I go through the entire transformations. Yeah. But and those are stories we all know that it sells very well. Yeah. But then if you look at it, like, to be honest, I can say this with a very high level of certainties after talking to like thousands of people in the past like 15 years being involved in leadership developments and so on, is that I think 75% to 80% of the people, perhaps they never actually need to go through a major trauma in their life, They are living I would say like maybe average or moderate or even above moderate life. Yeah. But they're just like curious to know, hey, is there any way that I can systematically bring my life to the higher level? Is there any way to do it? And when I say the word system, I like to define that. This is the lessons that I learned many years ago from this guy by the name of Bob Berg, which he also quoted it from somebody else. And he said that system can help an ordinary person achieve an extraordinary result predictably.
Yeah.
It means that no matter how ordinary you are, like no hidden talent, no major trauma, nothing has happened like extraordinary in your life, right? You're just a normal person. You're just like an average person. You don't hate your job, but you don't love your job. You don't hate the people you do work with, but you just, maybe you like some of them, you dislike some of them, you love some of them. So I was always curious to know, what does it take for someone to really, really build that life and career? And that brought me basically, I put up a lot of other topics, I discussed with a lot of leaders, but what I conclude is that the leaders who are in control of their life and career often ends up becoming someone who really, really optimize their capacity. And when I say the word in control, because this can be very what we call cheesy, and some people will say like, yeah, all right, I understand, everybody say the same thing. But what do I mean by being in control? It's simply meaning that we don't apologize for something we can't control. But we take full responsibility for the things that we can control. And that is very, very important.
It's so important. And as you were speaking then, I was thinking about the personal growth industry and, how it is so focused on those people that have overcome something that's absolutely traumatic, and they've gone on and dug themselves out of the hole, or someone like a superstar athlete or something. And the personal growth industry per se is really focused on those stories. You don't see too many people speaking on stages around the world who said, I was in a bit of a rut for 10 years and I got myself out of it, and this is what I did, because it's not as exciting, it's not as sexy, but it's actually what people need, because a lot of people, there's more people sitting there in a rut than there are there are that have suddenly faced this traumatic thing within their life that they've got to overcome.
And that is actually like, there are some studies that we found that people generally resonate better with the pain that people has gone through. People resonate very well with your pain. If you come and tell me that, Tony, I have like this problem with my boss, I really wish he was in this call right now, and you could confront him. He really needs to understand. You should see, Tony, I would love to work with him, but you should see the way he talked. You should see his tone and all those stuff, right? But see, people resonate very well with the pain, with the pressure. They don't resonate very well with your like, overcome success and all those stuff, right? But the challenge here is that people don't have to go through. See, you don't necessarily need to go through a major trauma in order to take control of your life, right? You can actually be an average person. You can just be a moderate person. But there are a lot can be done to take complete control, and that is basically it sits at the center of my model, which is it's all about consciousness. When you become aware that, hey, such things exist, there are people who live and living an in control life. There are people out there. It is not something, very superficial that it would never gonna happen. It's impossible. Yes, you may not get, it's a very progressive journey. You don't expect like, you wake up and then next day you are like completely in control of every aspect of your life, right? That, we never give such promise, but it's a progressive journey that every one of us, including me, including you, we are on the way to get there, right? As long as you're conscious about it, you're aware that it's possible.
And it's always the little things, isn't it? It's always the things that we get up and we do daily that is going to ultimately lead to our success.
Absolutely.
However, in saying that, there is still such a large proportion of the population that are just waiting for that magic pill, that are just waiting for, just tell me what to do to be successful. And they're wanting that instant, like, transformation. But, as most of us realize, it doesn't work that way. We've got to be disciplined. We've got to be focused. What does this mean? So your book is firmly in respect of in control of life and career. So what does it mean for leaders? What can they take from your book?
Yeah. Okay, so first of all, I want to bring this through the journey that you just highlighted about like magic pill and all this stuff, right? Many years ago, Tony, when I was in my early 20s, I had this privilege to go through this program with the old guys like Jim Rohn, Zig Ziglar, those guys that basically passed away many years ago as well. I still remember until today, Jim Rohn, he has this famous quote that he always said that the system to success is just to have a few discipline practice every single day. That's all, right? You don't need to have like thousands of discipline. You just need to have like a few discipline, but you just practice them every single day. Yeah. And this is something that bring people to a lot of success, right? So that few discipline, for example, which I always talk to leaders, anytime I speak with any leaders, and whenever I find them that they're really exciting people, and these are the guys that they're running organizations from 200 employees all the way to like, I have clients that they literally have like 4,000 employees that, they are in the work environment. Of course, not all of them report to them directly, but they're dealing with them. So I always ask them like, what are your like few disciplines, which is really, really important, and it helps you to be in control of your life and career, right? So if I want to put up some of them, which I think you don't need to be a leader in order to have those disciplines, it's pretty much applied to everybody, yeah. Because that's something that it's a principles of living a good life, and every discipline impacts the other one. When you have like some basic disciplines, you will have a lot of great disciplines too. So some of these disciplines that perhaps like your audience can start immediately, like one of the very first one, it's about your ability every single day to plan in the morning and reflect in the evening.
Yeah.
And God, I have not seen even one leader, Tony, one leader who tell me, oh, well, you know what, Reza, I never plan my day. Or Reza, I never reflect on my day. I have not seen one.
Okay.
So the importance of the planning, it's simply meaning that in the morning, you just sit down for 5 minutes. I used to write like, my to-do list, which basically we all know it doesn't work because, people say, yeah, I would love to do my planning, but then, I go through my day, a lot of things will happen. Yeah. I receive this call, I receive that call. So my way of doing it, which I learned it from one of my mentors many, many years ago, is that just write down what's the 3 to 5 things that you need to make sure you get done by today, okay? And here's the thing. There are thousands of distractions will come to you, but all you need to do, this is how I do it, Tony. This is literally how I do it. I will take my phone, I put a timer for like 30 minutes, which basically it can be 20 minutes, it can be 30 minutes, right? So either way. So I put the timer on 30 minutes, and within that 30 minutes, I do not check my phone. I do not answer calls. I do not take any emails, right? You see, all you need sometimes is just like 3 to 5 of those 30 minutes. Yeah. And that's it. Other than that, whatever distraction comes to you, it's a part of life. We can't control everything, right? But I can control 30 minutes. The problem with most people, they don't do that.
You make some really good points there, and I just want to share just a couple of quick stories. I was working with, you mentioned the to-do list, and I was working with a national here in Australia, a national sales manager for a company. And he was obviously quite good at what he was doing, but he was really unstructured. And I was sitting there and I was working with him how to increase his effectiveness. And I started talking about a to-do list, and he looked at me as if I was speaking a foreign language. And so I walked through what a to-do list would look like. And the problem that a lot of people have with to-do lists is that they get bigger and bigger and bigger because then we're not crossing stuff off as we go. We're not getting to it. Right. So I said, let's start with the to-do list and let's start planning. And, we worked together that he was going to do the planning before he went to bed of an evening, and it would be ready to go in the morning. And so we set up a process. And I still remember him at our very next session where he said, I cannot believe how much difference having a to-do list has made. And
precisely.
And I'm sitting there and I'm still sort of thinking it's he was a national sales manager who wasn't using a to-do list. So there's a real message there for leaders. Your natural ability to remember things and your natural ability to, it's all in my head, is limited. But the minute you can put it onto paper and get some structure, as you were talking through, it's really important. And the other story that I'll quickly share is about how you were scheduling time. I love that because that's such a great tip. And one of the ladies in my network, she will actually set the timer, especially now at the moment that we're working from home. She will set the kitchen timer for 20 minutes or 30 minutes. And then she goes into her office and she works. And the beauty with her process is that she knows that she's got a set amount of time to be really fixed and straight and focused. But the minute the timer goes off, it means that she's got to break from what she's doing and get that break that we all need, go to the kitchen, reset it, and then come back and start again. And she just swears by the effectiveness and the efficiencies that particular system creates for her. So, I just wanted to share them just to support what it is.
That's really exciting. I think what you have mentioned just now, it also is like one of those principles as well, that the break that you mentioned there, because I think that topic itself is like a huge topic, having a break basically in between, because most people, they don't really do that, right? Most people, they don't do that. And especially now because of like working from home, we literally, the whole concept of like a work-life harmony is no longer there because we tend to always work like, hours after hours, and then we just like mess it up. And that's why it's so important that we always emphasize for the leaders. I think the stories that you're telling me, because I was also involved with a lot of like leadership and sales team. And generally speaking, I think for those of your audience who are coming from sales background, generally salespeople, they don't like planning. They like the day to bring them creatively, and then they just want to be in the moment and so on. And this is what I think Brian Tracy was one of the best people who put this up. He said the people who plan the day generally achieve 30% more compared to those people who don't plan their day. I mean, you see, the funny things about planning, Tony, is that I ask leaders all the time that do your planning, and then they tell me like, Reza, I have so many things to do. I would love to do it, but there's always something pops up. But I mean, seriously, how long does it take you to do your planning? I mean, seriously, how long does it take? 30 seconds? 1 minute? Just be organized a little bit, We are not asking people to change their life, right? All we are asking them to do is to just sit down 30 seconds to 1 minute. And this is something that, perhaps for some of your audience, they say like, I would love to do it, but I always forget it. So this is how I do it. Tag your planning to one of your habits that you already built. For me, I always do my planning right before I take a shower in the morning. Meaning that I have this little couch, I put it in front of my bathroom, technically, that before I move inside the shower, I just sit down there, I take my phone, and I used to use like this sticky notes and all, but I have two small boys, so sticky notes never stay at home. So now what I do, I use this app, which I think everybody can use it. It's a free app. It's on your phone. It's called Keep Notes. So what I do, I have the big wins for today, and I just write it down and take it. And even today that I am with you, that is basically my number one, because I know I need to get that done. So here's the first one. Just use this app. It's free. Everybody do it. I just write down what is the 5 big wins. But this is not the most important one. The most important one, Tony, that leaders often miss it, is the reflection at the end of the day. And that is so important. This is what, a lot of leaders, unfortunately, they're thinking like experience will make us wiser. right? But I'm here to say something very, very opposite that notion. Experience doesn't make you wiser. If that's the case, when people get older, they're supposed to get wiser.
Supposed to.
But I know, I'm sure you know a lot of old people that they're not getting wiser. They're just getting older.
Still making the same mistakes.
Same mistake day after day, right? So what makes us experience? It's the evaluated experience that makes you wiser.
It's the insight on the experience.
Exactly. When you reflect back. So what I do, same technique. Before I take my shower in the evening, I sit down on the same couch and I go through my big wins. And this is what I do. I used to do journaling when I was a bit younger, but now I don't do journaling anymore. So I'm using another technique, which is basically like daily reflections. And I ask myself, what went right and what went wrong? You see, most people, when they do reflection, when they just screw something, they do reflection.
Yeah.
That's why they lose, the gratitude, appreciate what went right. And I just take notes. I just take notes, the reflection for today. That is so important. And I tell you something, especially for those of your audience that they have like small kids that they want to develop that. And this is frankly speaking, this is what I do with my own son. He's just like about 5 years old. And I took this habit many years ago from my dad. So I asked them the same things. What did you learn today? What did you laugh about today?
Okay.
And what did you love about today?
That's awesome. Yeah.
Every single night. Because I want him to really be present. I mean, kids are really, really conscious. They're very present.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, because people don't remind them, they lose it sadly. They lose it sadly. They get into the moments of the challenges. What am I going to do for my future? What happened to me in the past, right? So we lose that present moment. So this is something that, not only we can apply for others, we can also apply it in our own personal life. What did you love about today? What did you laugh about today? What did you learn today?
Yeah, excellent. It's a lot of people look at reflection as that opportunity to bash themselves up, to talk about everything that's gone wrong and why did this happen and why am I where I'm at. And I think that little piece of advice is absolutely critical, because that gratitude that we should have for the things that go right. And often when we have success, and you would have seen this in your research, often when we've had success, we just then move on without evaluating what actually drove that success. What was some of the key determinant? But when things go wrong, we'll sit there and deep dive and bash ourselves up. So there is that need. I really like that. So what you were just talking about, Reza, I'm really interested to hear your thoughts on multitasking. As so many people believe that they can do, they can multitask. They can have multiple windows open, be working on 2 or 3 things at once. What are your thoughts, and what do you see?
Yeah. Well, you see, multitasking, the whole concept of multitasking, I think it has been established first times back in 1950, 1960 or something, right? So it's a little bit of old techniques that has been around for a very, very long time. And I must say, there are some people, because of their neural pathway, it's designed in a way that they would be able to handle more than one task at the same time. But if you speak with the productivity experts, the people who has done a massive study in the area of task management and productivity, multitasking basically is one of those old ideas that it is not 100% relevant to the today's world, right? So what normally we encourage the leaders and their followers to do to have a better control over their life and career, it's moving from multitasking to become a multi-skill person.
Okay,
Okay, so what is the definition of the multi-skill, and what's the difference between them? You see, multitaskers generally, they can achieve so many things, but the problem is that the quality is often about 50% of the true potential. Meaning that you can do 100%, but it's just because you are kind of like bogged down by so many things, you end up achieving only 40 to 50% of your true potential. Yeah. What is the definition of the multi-skills? It means that you are not only one skill person. And, you know, I've been involved in a lot of organizations who has gone through transformation, which in the process of the transformation, it's not something nice for me to share, but they need to retrench some people. They need to let go of some people. And whenever I sit with this board people, when they want to set up the criteria with all these C-suite and say, okay, who do we need to let go? Who are the people that we need to, what we call that, just get rid of, right? You know, the very first questions that they always ask, Tony, is that how many skills this person has? Meaning that if the person just can do, let's say, sales, right? They say you become irrelevant maybe to the future business. Or if you're just good, let's say, at one engineering part, or you just can't do that process, so you, after a while, you might become irrelevant to the business. So my personal advice is that we got to shift from becoming a multitask person to become a multi-skilled person. It means that if I sit with you, tell me 2 or 3 competencies that you are damn good at it. You got to be able to list down, like, what's the 3 things that you can do really, really well. You can call yourself expert in those 3 areas. It just shouldn't be one.
Yeah, gotcha. Interesting way to think about it, and especially in the business world where there's so many people saying you need to find your niche and you need to be a specialist and an expert. Within the corporate space, it probably is a little bit similar, but to be able to pick up additional skills or to be adaptable, I think, to additional skills, I think is really important. Reza, who's inspired you in your leadership journey?
I have been one of the massive students of John C. Maxwell for a very, very long time. And I have even been part of his, the journeys, programs, and so on. But another authors that it truly inspired me of becoming who I am and many of my leadership practices is this guy by the name of Bill Campbell.
Okay.
So for some of your audience that perhaps maybe never heard of Bill Campbell before, because Bill Campbell was one of the guys who's been behind people like Steve Jobs, Jeff Bezos, Sheryl Sandberg, Eric Schmidt, they call him as a $1 billion coach, So he, $1 trillion coach. They call him as a $1 trillion coach of Silicon Valley. And his practices was really, really amazing. It's simply because he was the guy that nobody knows him, but he is responsible for companies like Apple, Amazon, what we call all the big boys in the market, right? So he was the guy behind him. And what I love about him, if I want to coach one of his best things which basically is a part of the leadership, I think I'm very, very sure you came across this question of leaders are born or they are made. Yeah. What would be that, Tony? What's your first answer to that? I'm sure a lot of people ask you also the same question. Leaders are born.
I always talk through the fact that there are some people that have natural leadership ability, but the majority of people can develop skills and improve their skills as a leader as they continue through their careers and their lives.
Very good, very good. Yes. So meaning that the first part, you need to give birth to leadership within yourself. You need to make a decisions that I want to become a leader, because I have never seen anyone who been just forced to become a leader. And I always encourage the leaders, please don't force people to become a leader too, because some people, they're just not designed for management role. The second step is what you mentioned. It's about the developing those competencies. But this is what Bill Campbell put it. He said, your organization can call you a manager, but only your team will call you a leader. Yeah. It means that you can't even call yourself a leader if you don't earn that respect.
Great way to put it.
And it was amazing. You know, it's amazing. So this guy was like really, I mean, there are a lot of people to name here. I mean, one of my favorite authors, and hopefully I can call him a friend. It's Jim Collins. You know, so I absolutely love the way he writes. So I think these are the top list of the people that I always look up to.
Excellent. What about, walk me through, how do you respond, or what's your relationship with failure?
See, the things about failure, every one of us, we have gone through tons of failures in our life. Yeah. And this has come back again to the concept of like in control and be control. Yeah. So when it comes to the failures, my personal perception is that there are certain things that we literally can't control. Yeah. Like currently with all happening in a COVID situations. Yeah. There are a lot of things that we might fail in businesses and so on, that happening around us. And even in our personal life, there are a lot of things could happen that we can't control that. So my way of looking at a failure is it's really, I always ask myself, what are the part of these failures that I could control? I could have done better. So do a proper reflections personally and also with the team. Yeah. And then we see like, how can we do it differently? And I'm not going to apologize for the things that I could not control and the things failed. But I think the most important lessons that, Tony, I can make it here, which is, this is a lessons that I learned it. I was very lucky. I learned it from one of my mentors in the early years of my own development. So he said, the goal itself is not really important, but who you should become in the process of achieving that goal, it's always very important. You see, writing a book, I mean, you wrote a book as well. When I was writing the book, it's not easy. I mean, people know writing. Sometimes we look at the book and say, "Oh, nice," But frankly speaking, it's hard. It's a monster. It's a monster to get the book out. There is a lot of you get failed in certain areas. You hire an editor and then they don't do it very well. You hire the designer, you pay them off, they don't do a proper job, right? And then you come back, you fail through a lot of process. I think it happened in our business and our life too. But the goal here is that who you become as a result of going through that failure, that is the most important.
Absolutely.
The failure, it doesn't matter. Goal, it doesn't matter. What you become at the end of the day, that is very, very
that's important. A great insight. So, and fantastic insight. Really appreciated that. So what's the vision for you moving forward?
I have always this vision that, it's very exciting because, the book just be out, now that we are talking actually like 15 January, the book actually literally launched. My vision for us as an organization, as an InControl Group and the team that we are working on, we really, really imagine a world that there are more people in control of their life and career. Yeah. And I'm not saying it again, as just like a motto, a motivational speech or a rah-rah kind of things. The way I put it is that the more we talk about this, the more people understand that there is actually a systematic way to get these things done. Yeah. And when people become in control of their life and career, it means that they love what they do, they love who you do it with. So they also go out and inspire more people to be in control of their life too. Unfortunately, a lot of leaders, especially at the current situation, we all know they are becoming so control freak. The whole notion of trust is changing. People are not they can't trust their team because what you're dealing with the people's character. You're not dealing with the people's behavior. they're not in front of you anymore, right? I mean, some of them working at the office, some of them working from home. So I am really in that journey of like telling leaders that you got to move out from becoming control freak to be a contribution freak. It means that to empower people to be in control of their life and career. And people always say, but Reza, I would love to do that, but how to trust the team when they're not in front of me? And the answer is very simple. The only way to trust is to trust. There is no other way. I mean, you know, you've been in leadership as well, right? There's no way to trust people if you don't want to trust them. Would it, like, can you give us a guarantee that it's going to be fine? No, there is no guarantee. It would be rocky for a while, but eventually people figure it out. That's how we learn.
The only way is to give trust. Absolutely. That's, once again, a fascinating insight. So, Reza, how can people connect with you and buy your book?
Oh, yes. So I'm available in all the social media, Dr. Reza Abraham. And my book is also available in Amazon, Australia, and all around the world, anywhere. So we are selling it in Amazon. We are selling it in Book Depository. And my website also, rezaabraham.com. So I would love to take your answers. It's really a pleasure to know. I hope everyone enjoyed reading the book and really knowing the comments and so on. So that would be
excellent.
fantastic.
I'll make sure those links are in the show notes. Reza, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you today for the Today's Leader podcast. Thank you so much for investing in today's leaders.
My pleasure, Tony. Thank you for having me. So it's the beginning of the year. So God bless you. God bless your 2022. And God bless all your...
And now, it's time for Tony's 2 cents.
Reza spoke about the importance of reflection, and I just cannot agree more. Reflection is a critical skill set that leaders should develop. It supports the experience that they're having with an evaluation or insight so that they can actually gather useful information, useful learnings from the experience that they've just gone through, to provide different levels of insight into what it is that they can take on and move forward with. However, as we discussed, reflection isn't just about the things that can go wrong or do go wrong. We need to actually dive into the things that went right and to think back on the day and think, well, what went right today and why? And what went wrong today and why? And ask ourselves those really clear questions. And that way we're learning from our wins and our losses. I also loved the concept that Reza provided in relation to asking yourself those 3 questions at the end of the day. What did I love about today? What did I laugh about today? And what did I learn about today? And I think if you're asking those 3 questions on a daily basis, give yourself some structure in and around that reflection, you are certainly right on the way to becoming one of tomorrow's best leaders. Give it a crack. It will work. Let's see how it works for you. Once again, I just want to thank Dr. Reza for coming on the podcast, investing in today's leaders. And of course, his links are in the show notes. If you're looking to build better leadership skills, check out the Today's Leader website at todaysleader.com.au. We really are driving a leadership revolution to build tomorrow's best leaders today. Today's Leader is a collective, the mindset to make a difference, the ability to create an impact. Think and Grow Business hosts our Today's Leader Mastermind. Think and Grow Business, where we focus on personal, professional, and business growth. Book your free 30-minute discovery call right from the homepage at thinkandgrowbusiness.com.au. Don't forget, wherever you are standing stronger, braver, and wiser. Don't forget the golden rule. Don't be an arsehole. I'll see you all again next week. Bye for now.